St. John's Gospel, chapter 21. The risen Jesus at the Sea of Galilee, verses 1 to 14. After this, Jesus again made himself known to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. And this is how he revealed himself. Simon Peter, Thomas the twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, Zebedee's sons, and two other disciples were all together. "I'm off fishing," says Simon Peter. "We'll come with you then," say the others. So off they went and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. At dawn, Jesus was standing on the shore, although the disciples didn't realize who it was. Jesus calls to them, "My dear children, don't tell me you haven't caught any fish." "Not a single one," they replied. He said, "Cast your net on the right side of the boat, and you'll catch some." So they cast the net, and were not able to haul it in, for it was brimful of fish. Then the beloved disciple says to Peter, "It's the Lord." As soon as he heard him say, "It's the Lord," Simon Peter wrapped his outer garment around him, because he was naked, and plunged into the sea. But the other disciples came in the little boat, towing the catch, because they were not far from the shore, about 100 yards. When they had come ashore, they see a charcoal fire ready, with some smoked fish lying on it, and some bread. Jesus says to them, "Bring the fish that you've caught." So Simon Peter went back and dragged the net ashore, heaving with fish, 153 in total. But even with so many, the net did not tear. Jesus says to them, "Come and have some breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who art you? Who art you? Who are you?" because they knew very well that it was the Lord. Jesus comes and takes both the bread and the fish and gives it to them. Now this was the third time that Jesus was made known to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. Jesus tests Peter, verses 15 to 23. After breakfast, Jesus says to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these do?" "Yes, Master," he says, "you know that I love you." "Then feed my lambs," says Jesus. Again, Jesus says a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Master," he says, "you know that I love you." So Jesus says to him, "Take care of my sheep." For the third time, Jesus asks him, "Simon, son of John, do you really love me?" Peter was upset that Jesus had asked him for the third time, "Do you really love me?" So he says to him, "Master, you know everything. Surely you know that I love you." Jesus says to him, "Then feed my sheep. But pay heed, when you were younger, you wore what you liked and went about as you pleased. When you're old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you to where you don't want to go." He said this to show by what death Peter would glorify God. Then he says to him, "Follow me." Peter turned and sees the beloved disciple following them. This was the one who had leaned against the breast of Jesus at supper and had said, "Master, who will betray you?" When Peter sees the beloved disciple, he says, "Master, what about him?" Jesus says to him, "What about him? If I should want him to stay alive until I return, what's that got to do with you? Just follow me." Because of this, the word got around to the others that this disciple wouldn't die. But this isn't what Jesus said. Rather, if I should want him to remain alive until I return, what business is that of yours? John's eyewitness account confirmed, verses 24 to 25. Then this is the disciple who testified about these things and wrote them down, and we know that his testimony is true. Now Jesus did many other things, which, if they were written down, then I suppose even the whole world would not be able to contain the books that would be written. Amen. That's the end of my reading of chapter 21 and my reading of St. John's Gospel, which, as I've said before, is from my translation, a lawyer's translation from the original Greek. It's published by Matador. You can get it on Amazon or on Kindle. I've also published the Book of Revelation in translation, Revelation Unveiled. Many believe that it's the same author as the Gospel of John. Certainly the Greek is very similar. And only last week I've received a copy of my new publication, which is St. Mark's Gospel, which again I'm holding up. All of these can be obtained from Amazon or Matador and Kindle. All profits are going to charity. At the moment, I'm translating Matthew's Gospel. I'm holding up the Greek text at the moment. I'm now starting on chapter 26. I hope that will be published later this year, and we'll try and put it here on a video. So thank you very much for listening to my readings, and I wish you God's blessing.